A CTV News special presentation.
Terrain was ferocious. Casualties were ferocious. Opposition by the Germans was ferocious.
The worst day the Canadian Army had in the Second World War, 916 dead, over half the force dead or captured, all within a 9-hour period.
It was a ghastly war. It was a bloody war.
We are having positive effects, but it comes at a cost, and we know what that cost was going to be.
You have done an extraordinary job.
We've been ready, we are ready, we will be ready.
A solemn salute here in Ottawa at the National War Memorial on this November 11th. A deep sense of gratitude and pride as the country gathers to pay tribute to the courage and sacrifice of the men and women who have served and died to protect our freedom. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CTV News' special coverage of the National Remembrance Day ceremony. It is our deep honor and privilege, as it is every year on this day, to reflect along with the rest of Canada on the selfless duty of our troops, both past and present. Every year, it's a moving reminder that each of us has a deep obligation never to forget. And I'm so honored to have here next to me a distinguished panel of special guests joining us today to help guide us through what I know will be a memorable and poignant occasion, as it is every single year. Retired Commodore Dr. Hans Jung, former Surgeon General of the Canadian Armed Forces. Just by way of a little bit of background, he led the military's medical teams for numerous combat, humanitarian, and disaster relief missions, including Haiti, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. We also have with us Chief Warrant Officer Anthony Jones, a regimental sergeant major with the Infantry School in Gagetown, New Brunswick. He has served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan, sustaining a traumatic injury in 2010 when he was struck in the right shoulder and arm by shrapnel from an RPG. And we are also so pleased to welcome Mélanie Morin-Pelletier with us this morning, a War and Society historian with the Canadian War Museum. We'll get to our guests in just a few moments, but we have CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver down by the memorial this morning, standing by. She joins us now with Canada's Veterans Affairs Minister, Ginette Petitpas-Taylor. Annie, good morning to you. The Minister has only been in this job now for barely 4 months, but there are some long-standing issues veterans have said they need addressing, and addressing urgently, such as resolving the backlog of disability benefit claims. What is the Minister doing about that?
Hi, Omar. Well, we're actually still just waiting for the minister, but you're right, there is a lot on her plate. And as you mentioned, she's only been in that role for several months. It was about 3 years ago that the government announced a big plan with a lot of money behind it to try to clear that backlog. But 3 years later, the backlog of disability benefits does still exist, with about 5,000 applications in the backlog. Now, the government says they have hired staff, they have trained a lot of people, they have gone through the vast majority of that backlog, which peaked in March 2020 at about 23,000 applications. But a lot of veterans still are struggling, saying that they can't get the services that they need. There's also another big aspect here, is that a lot of veterans also say that they're not getting the mental health services they need. And this is an area that the government is under a lot of pressure to try to get more services to those veterans. As Veterans Affairs says that about, I think it's 1 in 5 veterans will be diagnosed with a mental health issue at some point in their lifetime.
And Annie, we'll talk to our guests about that, and we'll get back to you in just a few moments when the minister is with you. And one of the most powerful moments and scenes of this ceremony each and every year is to see the faces in the crowd. And I'm sure as you're looking there behind you, Annie, and Jeremy, as you're looking behind you, you can see there are people from all across the country, young and old. And it's important that this history be kept alive.
Absolutely, Omar. You know, there are people here, as you mentioned, from across the country. We've been speaking with people in the crowd already this morning. It's a day of remembrance, a day of reflection for many, but it's also a proud day. And we'd like to introduce you to Rodney Bruce, who has come from far to be here today, a proud father. Rodney, tell us where you've come from and why you're here today.
I came from California to watch our son, who is he's a first-year student at the Royal Military College in Kingston. He's an officer cadet. He's going to go into the Air Force when he's done his education. So he got selected to march in the Remembrance Day Parade here today. So we're his biggest fans. So we followed him up here, and we're proud to see him serve. And
there was no way you were not going to be in the perfect position, correct? I understand your son is going to be taking part in a ceremony just behind us here. What time were you here this morning?
7:30. Yes, sir.
Well worth it, I'm sure, correct?
Absolutely, 100%.
Talk to me about a little bit, just briefly, why this is such a proud moment for you and why you think your son felt compelled to join the military.
You know, we still are asked that question every day. It just is something that he started researching, like the core values, you know, the respect and the foundation that it teaches, and he just says, he said, I wanted to try and do it, and so we're like, go for it. We'll support you everywhere.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rodney. And so many stories like this. That's a story of someone young, as you mentioned, Omar, just starting their journey in the military. We'll be speaking throughout the day to others who are at the end of their journeys, reflecting on the moments they've had in the military, and we'll bring you those stories a little bit later.
All right, Jeremy, thank you so much for that. And you know, the gentleman you spoke to had such a deep personal connection to this ceremony today, as many Canadians do right across the country. One of the people who's been studying that and the impact on families is Melanie, who's with me right now from the Canadian War Museum. You spoke so powerfully about this in an interview recently, about how your grandfather's brother died in combat at the age of 20, and you could still see the pain in your grandfather's eyes when you talked to him about it.
Absolutely. I remember as a young girl hearing my grandfather talk about his brother who was killed in the Netherlands in April 1945. So just a few weeks before the end of the Second World War. He was 20 years old, and I could feel that it changed his family forever. I have the privilege of still having him today, and I know that it's still a sensitive subject, and every year I wear the poppy for my uncle, great uncle René Morin, and also for because I'm very grateful for the servicemen, servicewomen today, and veterans. And it's amazing that we have a day to come together and say our thank you.
And so many people giving their thanks today. Anthony, your wife is standing by to the side. The viewers can't see her, but we certainly can. This is a deep sacrifice for families right across the country. You are seeing your wife today. Last time you saw her was Thanksgiving. Families are separated.
That's right.
It takes a huge toll, but you're motivated by an immense and tremendous sense of duty.
It is a sense of duty to serve. There's a biblical reference that says, no greater love has no man than laid on his life for his friend. And I think service is one of the most honorable things. We're serving, we're protecting our country, we're going the extra mile. But it's not only us that are serving, our families that support us every day in what we do are also serving. And sometimes they're forgotten about in the conversation, but they too also make a sacrifice. So on this Remembrance Day, I remember all my friends who have served and those along with us, but also their family for their continued support.
Deserving of that credit, certainly. Let's go back now to CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver, who is with the Veterans Affairs Minister, Ginette Petitpas-Taylor. Annie.
Hi, Omar. Well, Minister, you've only been in this position for about 3.5 months. You said you've had a chance to go around and speak to a lot of veterans. Sadly, a lot of First World War veterans, Second World War veterans, and Korean War veterans are not here anymore to tell their stories. What do you think that Canadians can do best to try to keep the history of those veterans alive?
Well, we certainly have to keep those stories alive, and commemoration is very, very important. It's a big part of that. As the Minister for Veterans Affairs, making sure that we, continue the commemoration of the First World War, Second World War, and Korean War is absolutely important. This week I had an opportunity to be at Sunnybrook Hospital, where the Veterans Facility, and got to meet many veterans from the Second World War and Korean War that are over 100 years old. And the stories that I heard from them, again, are just inspiring. This is the best of Canadians, you know, and I had the privilege of meeting with them this week. But again, we have to make sure that those stories are continued to be told, because again, it's a part of our history and we cannot forget.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the disability applications in the backlog. The Veterans Affairs Department about 3 years ago did put forward a plan to try to clear it, but so far there are still thousands of applications. I believe it was about 5,000 applications still in the backlog. Why hasn't it been able to get cleared yet, and what's kind of standing in the way?
Well, first and foremost, last week we were in Charlottetown to make a funding announcement, additional funding to make sure that the additional positions that we hired, that they're going to be continuing that work that needs to be done for the next 2 years. Why do we have the backlog? I think we have to take a step back, and we have to keep in mind that since 2015 we've invested more than $11 billion in additional services for veterans, and as a result we've seen a 61% increase in people applying for benefits. That's one of the causes for the backlog. We've certainly made substantive progress with respect to the backlog, but again, to your point, we still have a few thousand, and again, we're not going to take our foot off the gas. We have to make sure that that continues to be done, and the funding announcement that we did last week will do exactly that.
Do you have an estimate on when you hope this backlog will be cleared?
Again, we've got, we're at 76% right now of the backlog that has been cleared up. So we're really hoping that within the next year and a half that we were going to see that we'll be able to meet our service standards.
And just my last question for you, I want to talk a bit about recruitment. The force is having a very difficult time recruiting new members. About 1 in 10 positions are currently vacant. I'm wondering what you think is the biggest change that needs to be made to the culture to ensure that the Canadian Armed Forces is a more welcoming place for new recruits, especially women and people of color.
We certainly have to make sure that the forces are representative and reflective of Canadian society. So I think there's work that needs to be done in that area. To your point, we recognize that there's about 8,200 Canadian Armed Forces that retire every year. So we need to make sure that we continue to recruit and recruit aggressively. I think as well, just making sure that we commemorate our modern day veterans as well is very important. And then from their younger individuals will see that as a profession that they want to be a part of. So a part of my role as Veterans Affairs, I certainly want to make it a priority to start commemorating our modern day veterans even more. We've done a good job with the first 2 world wars and the Korean War. We have to continue that, but again, we have to make sure that our modern day veterans are not forgotten.
Thank you very much, Minister. Back to you, Omar.
Annie, thank you so much. I want to bring in now Dr. Hans Jung, former Surgeon General of the Canadian Armed Forces. You know, a lot of people will be watching the coverage today, perhaps not realizing just how difficult it is for so many people in the crowd and also people watching at home. It brings back memories. These are always painful memories, not easy to deal with. You've dealt with many of these, you know, patients throughout your career. What do you find is the reoccurring theme, or has been the reoccurring theme over the past decades?
Well, so in my current veterans medical practice, I have over 200 plus people with mental health challenges. And every Remembrance Day period, it's a bit of a triggering time for them to rehash and remember all the suffering they've gone through, and also remembering the colleagues that have potentially fallen and have been severely injured. So the difficulty of adapting to civilian life afterwards is a continuing theme, and especially compound that by ongoing medical and mental health challenges makes their integration into civilian life much more difficult and a prolonged and often lifelong challenge for them.
How do you strike the right balance? We know, according to Veterans Affairs, that there are 9,267 veterans of the Second World War and Korean Wars who are still alive. You just heard the minister there talk about the importance of preserving these stories, preserving history. And at the same time, when you consider that it is such a traumatic experience to talk about, it is a delicate balance, isn't it?
It's absolutely. And I mean, times are changing. I think for the Second World War and the Korean vets, the culture of the time was that you do not talk about that. You know, they suffered in silence, and I think it's a common theme that when people talk, you know, their parents or their grandparents really didn't talk anything about it. They kept silent. With the current advent of the Afghan and modern vets, if you like, there's been greater openness to discuss mental health challenges and really decrease the stigma that comes with that. And so there has been progress, but obviously treatment has not been as let's say, advanced as looking at such as cancer treatment or heart attacks and so forth. So treatments for mental health is still a challenge, both medication and for psychological treatments, and it's a field that does require much more advance to really address the difficult issues that they're dealing with.
And you can see preparations now well underway for the Veterans Parade, which should be starting momentarily. And then in about 45 minutes' time, at 11 o'clock, the most sacred part of this Remembrance Day ceremony, the 2 minutes of silence. This may be the biggest ceremony, but there are also events taking place across the country. We're going to be showing you shots momentarily. There they are at Halifax and of Toronto. Across the country today, there is, as we've been mentioning throughout the morning, a deep sense of gratitude and sacrifice for our troops, but also deep sadness for the fallen. More than 118,000 Canadians have lost their lives fighting for their country. Most died in the First and Second World Wars, though over 500 were killed in the Korean War. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the armistice of that war. More recently, 158 soldiers made the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan. And this year holds special significance for Canada's former peacekeepers. It's the 75th anniversary of UN peacekeeping. Since 1948, more than 125,000 Canadian troops have served in international missions in dozens of countries. A Nobel Peace Prize was even awarded in 1957 to then Foreign Minister Lester B. Pearson for creating the first large-scale mission. Today, though, the number has dwindled to about 60 in a handful of regions. I had the chance recently to speak with this country's most well-known peacekeeper, retired Lieutenant General Romeo Dallaire, and here are some of his reflections on the toll of the war and the importance of fighting for peace.
You got to keep working at peace, and that you got to keep monitoring it because things flare up.
Left, right, left.
You need an independent, neutral capability there, sort of like a referee. We've recognized that once the adrenaline goes down and the sense of urgency is not there anymore, that the traumas that you live, they do have an impact on your psychological balance. You're not just watching something on TV, you are actually reliving it. And you actually hear the suffering, you hear the pain, you hear the thirst, you feel it. And so it becomes very profound, and it regenerates a lot of the angst that you've lived already in the past.
I became suicidal because there was no other solution.
I went public in '97 with my own PTSD and essentially called it an operational stress injury. And so it became honorable to be injured that way, just like when you're injured physically.
I've seen some of our own fall and give the ultimate price of their life for the object of peace.
I believe that humanity is seeking serenity, that humanity does not want to go into a constant survival mode, it wants to thrive. And in order to do that, it's got to build lasting peace. It might take a couple centuries to bring lasting peace and a far grander perspective for humanity than simply trying to handle the survival on this planet. But to do that, we have got to sustain our desire to go well beyond our borders.
And we are learning right now that one of the most important traditions of this ceremony today has been canceled. The fly past, we're hearing it is because of weather, although if you look at the sky today, it's blue skies, sunny skies. We'll try to get a little bit more information about that and to see exactly why that change was made. But for now, let's go to CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver, who is with the Chief of the Defense Staff, General Wayne Eyre. Annie.
Hello, General Ayer. Thank you very much for joining us here today. You know, Remembrance Day is an opportunity to remember the sacrifice of Canadian soldiers throughout the years. And I'm wondering, as you're here today, who are you thinking about?
So, as you said, this is an opportunity to remember the sacrifices, and for me it's deeply personal as I think about all those who served and fell, colleagues, individuals that I knew that were under my command, whether in operations or on training. So it is a deeply, deeply personal day. You know, I also think about my relatives who served in the First and Second World War and were killed over in Europe as well.
And are those the people that you were thinking about during the lament, which you just mentioned as your favorite part of today's ceremony?
Absolutely. It's an opportunity to reflect on past wars, reflect on those who we knew, but also reflect on the future and the challenges that our world and our country and armed forces are facing.
Right now, there are troops who are stationed all around the world, you know, helping train Ukrainian soldiers, for example, but yet the defense budget is being cut. And what kind of a message do you think that sends to our soldiers, as well as to many of our allies who feel that internationally Canada's not pulling its weight?
Well, there's deep concern about that, but as soldiers, we have to make do with what we have and work to get the job done. But as the security situation in the world deteriorates around us, our job is to be as ready as we can be with the resources that we have.
For a lot of people right now, what's going on in the Middle East is front and center. There's a lot of talk about the need for a ceasefire. Do you think that there is a need for a ceasefire right now? And what role do you think, if any, Canadian peacekeepers could potentially play in the region?
Well, that is a legitimate question, but one more suitable for the policymakers. Our job is to be ready to respond and provide options to government. You know, right now we are well poised to help evacuate Canadians and Canadian entitled personnel out of the region if that becomes necessary. But this is a situation that's fraught again with uncertainty. We have war in Europe, war in the Middle East, tension in the Asia-Pacific region. So there is no shortage of crises around the world for us to deal with.
General Ayer, thank you very much for being here today. We'll give it back to you, Omar.
All right, Annie, thank you so much. And I just want to take just a few moments to look at the sights and sounds of what has been going on today, which is always a very powerful day here in the nation's capital. A day steeped in tradition to honor the service and sacrifice of the men and women who have fought for freedom and this country. Chief Warrant Officer Anthony Jones, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we're seeing right now. Annie was talking with the Chief of the Defense Staff about recruitment and how to bring more people in, especially people who are reflective and representative of this country. It is a challenge. If you were to offer any advice, which I know is hard because you strike me as such a humble guy, but what would you suggest?
In terms of recruiting? Omar, I just think that at times it's a society thing. I noticed during Afghanistan, a lot of folks are going to the recruiting center. And sometimes I think that's what's going on in the world and what we're involved in. So a lot of time our military is just seen as a military that operates at home. But a lot of our folks don't realize that we're all over, where we have troops deployed to Latvia, the UK, Poland, still troops in Iraq. So I think young Canadians should realize that the Canadian Armed Forces is an equal opportunity employer. When they're finished with school or they're finished, have nothing to do, they're good Canadians, good human beings, they can go to the recruiting center. It is a great job. It's very rewarding. It brings a lot of, good quality of life is there. Sometimes it's not great from the outside looking in, but once you're in it, you realize that it's a very rewarding opportunity.
I think you brought up an excellent point that a lot of people think that the military is only active during combat times or combat missions, but we saw that this summer too, right? With the climate disasters all across this country, that there is a significant reliance on the military to help get this country through its most difficult times, such as climate disasters.
And that is right, and many times our military is deployed at home, as we saw, as you mentioned, climate change and also with our wildfires. And I know sometimes, I know that CDS mentioned it with, and it was posed to me in a question because of the concern with budget. Folks might think there's not an opportunity to train. I'm at a training center and the budget issues don't affect us. If people show up, they will get trained. Sometimes there's resource challenges, but they will get trained, and there is always an opportunity to train, and we're looking for those young Canadians to join our organization. It is very rewarding.
Melanie, I want to talk a little bit about peacekeeping, which has been such a defining value for our country. Back in the 1990s, Canada was the largest contributor to peacekeeping operations around the world. And now, as we mentioned, the number has dwindled to several dozen. What has been the biggest shift, the biggest change? These are operations that have become riskier over time. Has that impacted the number that we send into the field?
That's a very good question. I think that a lot of the Canadian population is not necessarily aware or is wondering what our place in the world is right now. I feel the sense of disconnect between civilians and our military, and I think it's a great occasion to discuss and to see we're all part of the country, we're citizens, we should have a discussion on what we're willing to fight for, what we want to defend, who we're sending across the country to represent us. So I think it's a turning point, and it is a good time to have these discussions.
Discussions that are very much ongoing. And Dr. Jung, I remember being with the troops in Mali in Gao in 2018. These are extremely difficult conditions. It was more than 40 degrees. I know we had just completed an exercise. They were kind enough to let me tag along. And then when we landed back at the base, they had freezies, and I've never been more grateful to have crushed ice because the temperatures were just soaring that day. But they deal with so much. Do you think we should be pushing more in that direction as a country just because it is such a defining value, or has been throughout the decades, of who we are as a nation?
Well, I mean, as Melanie said, that's a policy decision by the government. But I think as a country, these are difficult times. And my personal sense is that, as Canada becomes more diverse, there will be more diverse opinions, And so I think Canada needs to come to a sense of unity as to what is our role in the world. And once we decide on that, then we forge ahead. But in terms of recruitment, and my personal experience is that, the military provides a tremendous sense of camaraderie, experience, an ability to see Canada you'll never be able to see otherwise, and internationally. So it's a great opportunity for those who are willing to have some adventure and, go for it.
There is such a shift in that conversation, and you're right. As the country matures, so does opinions on what our place is in the world. We have been talking so much about keeping those stories alive this morning, especially for the younger generation, and especially considering that there are now fewer than 9,500 veterans from the Second World War and Korean Wars still living in Canada. And we want to play you some reflections now from soldiers who have served and what they see as why it's so important to keep these stories alive. Here are some of their reflections from the veterans right across this country, including from right here in Ottawa.
I get very emotional on Remembrance Day. It means an awful lot to me because I've been living in a free country my whole life.
I used to toss and turn. We have to remember who they were, what they did, and thank them.
It was one big family, always. Didn't matter who or where, or sometime even the rank. You were all part of the same family.
It's good to remember the fallen comrades and what they went through, and it's nice to know that people like us keep it alive.
Peacekeeping is very, very important. We don't want a world war at our doorstep at any time.
Well, we went through a lot, and I think we saved a lot of lives. We should always remember what the fellows went through.
It's a day to remember the boys that aren't here. I lost my brother over France when he was 21.
Will they ever choose to learn from history and to avoid future conflicts? Because one thing I know, if we choose to forget history, tragedy is doomed to repeat.
The heavy burdens that it takes in order to do that job. The stories, the visions, it will be for the rest of our lives. But we proudly did it. Most of us will do it again.
They should celebrate it to remember all those who did not come back, to remember what happened in the past and not to have it happen again in the future.
You could really feel the weight of history in their voices and them having to carry the burden of that history throughout the decades as they shared those reflections. Thank you to everyone who participated in that montage. Let's just take a few minutes right now to listen in to the Veterans Parade. Music is such an integral part of today, and such an integral part of these occasions. The Royal Canadian Air Force Band was founded in 1939 to perform for the royal visit of King George VI.
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, welcome to Canada's Day ceremony. Bienvenue à la cérémonie nationale du jour du souvenir du Canada. We would like to acknowledge the land on which we gather. It is the traditional and ancestral territory of the Ottawa, an Anishinaabe nation. This morning, Canadians are gathering at cenotaphs and memorials throughout our country. Others are watching at home or online. No matter where, all are paying respects
to the 120,000 brave men and women who have sacrificed their lives for us in war and in military operations, both at home and overseas. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the first United Nations peacekeeping mission. Since then, more than 125,000 Canadian Armed Forces members have served in peacekeeping efforts in many countries. 130 of them have given their lives. We pause today to reflect upon the service and sacrifice of our troops in battles, conflicts, and missions throughout our military heritage. We stand today to honor, thank, and remember all those who have fallen in service to Canada. We renew our pledge to never forget. Nous voudrions tout d'abord reconnaître que la terre sur laquelle nous nous
that the
réunissons
land on which we are is the ancestry land of the Algonquin and Abenishnabe.
de nombreux Canadiens et
Many
Canadiennes
Canadians
se réunissent devant
are
les cénotaphes et
reunited
les monuments
in front
On
of
for the
this
Royal Canadian Legion. Let's go back right now to CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver, who is in the crowd. And what stands out for you most, Annie? I know you are from Ottawa. You've attended many of these ceremonies in the past. As you're looking at the crowd, I mean, you can see the grief etched on many of these people's faces. What's most poignant for you?
I think it's just the size of the crowds, Omar. You know, a couple hours ago, there were maybe 100 people here. One row deep was the crowd. And I was wondering if, you know, as many people were going to show up. And then now just looking around, there are thousands of people here, all crowded in, warmed. You know, I can see a young baby who can't be more than a couple months old. You see some older people, families, generations. And it's just so nice to see that so many people are continuing to come out to this age-old tradition. I remember being here when I was a kid myself and continuing to come down, and it's nice to see this tradition continuing. As we mentioned, so many veterans are no longer here, no longer able to share their story, and yet their history, their stories continue to live through all of the people who are here today. And you know, this is one aspect of Remembrance coming here to the National Cenotaph, but in local communities right across the country, people are gathering at their local cenotaphs for the same reasons, to remember those who have fallen. And there's also other small areas of tributes. You know, I did a story earlier this week on a community just outside of Ottawa who's continuing to make these little Izzy dolls. They get together once a week, they stitch them, they crochet them, little dolls that then get handed out to kids in war zones. Those are handed out by Canadians, Canadian soldiers, all in memory of one peacekeeper, Mark Isfeld, who died at the age of 21. So, you know, while there is this big symbol of remembrance here today, everyone in their own way is finding small ways to continue to remember those soldiers.
Representing the youth of Canada, senior winners of
Troops that are so decorated, that have served and sacrificed. We had a close-up shot there of the medals of one of the veterans, and I'm wondering if both of you could talk a little bit about your medals, starting with you, Dr. Chung.
I don't like to talk too much about those, but just as the chief has, it's an Order of Military Merit, and I'm a commander of the Order of St. John. I have NATO Peacekeeping Mission, and I have the Service Medal. Served 31 years. I would have had an extra bar if I served one more year, 32. I think that's part of. Have I forgotten anything? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think one of the ones that I like the most, it's the Canadian Forces decoration, because of the color of Canada, the red and white, but the bars signify additional 10 years. And one of the things I've always say it jokingly, but it really should be worth recognizing the families again, because we don't do it by ourselves, so we get a medal for our service, but they just get a thank you. So I always tell the troops, when you receive your CD, make sure you go home and buy your wife a gift, because they should also deserve something. One of the medals that I do have that you know, it is there to recognize my injury, and it's the sacrifice medal. And I guess the bottom line with medals is that they tell a story. When you talk to a soldier, see a soldier, what's on their chest will tell their story, tells where they've been, how long they've served, what they've sacrificed, and certain medals will be for leadership and long service. So they do tell a story, and people do wear them proudly, and I wear mine proudly every day.
You certainly do. You were telling me earlier this morning about how even in 2012, after you had a heart attack and you were in hospital, you still were determined to make sure that you got out of your bed to reflect and honor and take a pause on this day. Can you tell me a little bit about that a decade ago?
Yes. I guess I had a heart attack and no one could tell me why it happened because I was a healthy young man. That morning I went for a 5K run. That night I went to a French class, but I didn't feel well. My beautiful wife thought something was wrong. I got a heart attack, but I was in hospital and I thought, you know, it's still Remembrance Day. I was not in the best of spirit, but it was my goal to get up at the 11th hour to go to the common room where the TV was, turn on this said ceremony. And when the last post was played, I started attention with all the energy I could because it's important to me. Every Remembrance Day since I came to this country when I was 10 years old as an immigrant to this country, and I was an Army cadet, and I know what sacrifice is. And I guess the realization when you go on operation like I've been, and with your friends, some of them don't come back, then it means that much more important to you. And it's always been a very day of reverence and honor for me that I stand up and recognize those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. If they've given so much, me as a Canadian, how can I not just take that time to recognize their sacrifice? And that's why I like this day set aside, but I recognize their sacrifice every day. But this day is more important because it's a time for us to take a moment out of our so busy lives and just recognize those brave men and women that have done so much for our country.
So well said, and I love how lovingly you speak of your wife as well. She's standing off camera. It is a sacrifice, and in your family's case particularly, an added sacrifice because both of you are going through this. But it is really so important to honor that this is something that takes a tremendous toll. Yeah. But you are so motivated by a sense of duty. It does feel this year, Mélanie, that there is added significance to this ceremony, and I'm wondering what you think the impact of these two high-profile wars are on what we are seeing today. We've got the war in Ukraine, and then we've got the war in the Middle East. It shows us that security isn't guaranteed, and there is a price for freedom.
Absolutely. It brings the past to the present, or what is sometimes considered the past. We think, sometimes when we think veterans, or many Canadians think veteran, they think First World War, they think Second World War. Doing interviews with veterans, we often hear that, especially women veteran people ask them, like, where did you get your medals? Like, they could not be veterans because they're younger women. So there's an image of what war is that is far away, and that is the past, but it's a reminder that freedom is fragile, and that if it is what we want to, it is, we have to defend it, and we have to, there's a big price to pay for sure.
There certainly is. I just want to take a look at my watch to see how close we are to the 2 minutes of silence. We are now about 18 minutes away. We know that the Prime Minister will be arriving shortly. But every year we are here covering this. This is what I find the most powerful. Complete silence, even in a crowd of thousands. Again, just a few of the ceremonies underway right across the country at this hour. Or I should say at least Ontario East, Ottawa, Toronto, and Halifax. Mélanie, in so many ways, your life's work has been war history over the years, and you even have a PhD in this that you completed. What is the most fascinating thing that you have uncovered through your research? One of the
reason I went to military history was when I found my first diary of a nursing sister from the First World War. I was shocked because the only thing I had learned until then about women in the military was that some women had served in munition factories, especially in the Second World War, and I couldn't understand why I had not learned about that in high school, or and I wanted to know more. And then I realized that actually Canadian women had served with the military since 1885. Until 1941 it was as nursing sisters, but 2,845 Canadian nurses served in the First World War. Women, as they have always been strong and capable, they've always wanted to serve in the military. There were always more women volunteering than position available. So I made it part of my life mission to talk about their service and their courage, and it also and to give them a voice, because I feel we haven't heard about them their service has not been as recognized as it should. And it's true actually for most of the medical personnel. They learn to cope with to deal with situations they've often never seen in civilian practice, especially First and Second World War, when they were civilian doctors and nurses. So yeah, it's giving them a voice.
It certainly is, and we're looking at the Prime Minister's motorcade arriving right now at this hour. Let's go to CTV's Annie Bergeron Oliver in the crowd. What is the sense, Annie, where you are?
Hi, Omar. Well, as you mentioned earlier, it's eerily quiet, and that's actually extremely peaceful. As you mentioned, so many people here, but you could hear a pin drop, and I think that's just a sign of the respect that people have for this place and for this ceremony. Now, one of the things that I think is quite interesting, and I'm not sure if it's because we're talking so much about peacekeepers, but I've noticed a lot of the UN Blue Berets today, and perhaps it's just because I'm paying more attention to it, but I am seeing a lot of peacekeepers who are here. And it's also just, I think, so touching to see how many veterans are here as part of this veteran parade, veterans of all ages. And I think that is perhaps also one of the most touching parts of this ceremony, is seeing how many veterans are coming out, being part of this, coming from far and wide. I ran into a veteran who I've interviewed many times, who's here from, I believe it's Vancouver, came out just for a couple days to be here for this ceremony. And I think that goes to show also, how important this ceremony is and this day is to so many people.
And Annie, you've done several stories on this week. We talk about what it's like serving in theater and combat abroad, but in many ways the battles, the silent battles, still continue when people come home.
Exactly. A lot of members come home and they do struggle with their mental health, whether that's PTSD, whether it's anxiety, whether it's another disorder. And that is extremely challenging, especially as many veterans fight to try to get benefits. They find there's long wait times. They find there's a lot of hoops they have to jump through to try to get the treatment, the assistance that they need. And yet there's also a strong sense of community in many ways. There are lots of organizations that have popped up in recent years to help ensure that veterans do get the care that they need and ensure that there's an open place that people can talk about it, to help remove that stigma that, as our panelists have been talking about, had existed for a long time and in many ways still does exist, but is slowly getting easier for people to talk about and to talk about the struggles. Omar.
Mrs. Hooper of St. Claude, Manitoba, is the mother of the late
Annie, thank you. And right now, the National Silver Cross Mother is arriving, as you may have just heard. This is a tradition that the Legion has been undertaking all the way back to 1919. This year's Silver Cross Mother is Gloria Hooper, who lost her son in Bosnia, Sapper Chris Jalapina. And in fact, he was just 6 days away from completing that tour when he died. The Silver Cross Mother represents all parents who've lost a child. And there must be such a so many emotions going through her mind on a day like today. She recently shared her reflections with our Manitoba Bureau Chief Jill Makishaw, and here are some of those reflections as Gloria Hooper arrives.
He was always phoning when he was at work and stuff like that, so I just remember that every day, and he phoned home.
He was doing what he loved, and we knew he was doing what he loved, so it was his whole life. Yeah, like, it was just who he was.
When he got hurt and passed away, he's only had 3 more days and he was coming home.
He was my hero, my own personal hero, and to this day, it's still, yeah.
As long as they remember, you know, what he did, and
these guys truly gave their lives for Canada. It was the ultimate sacrifice. You know, life goes on, but memory needs to remain there.
A mother who's made such a tremendous sacrifice. I don't think there's a dry eye up here. And the other person in that reflection montage was Sabra Halapina's sister, Ashley. This is the vehicle belonging to Her Excellency the Governor-General, who will be wearing the Royal Canadian Navy uniform. She is, of course, the Commander-in-Chief. She will be joined by her husband, Whit Fraser. The Governor-General doing so much to raise awareness about the contributions of Indigenous veterans as well. And she released a statement this morning that I thought was deeply personal and deeply touching as well. I'm going to read a few lines from it. She said, "Remembrance is about more than battles or statistics. It's about people. It's about the specific, courageous kind, generous, heroic acts made by those who wear the uniform. And it's about the changing face of veterans, veterans who are peacekeepers or who fought in wars." And then she goes on, Dr. Jung, to say, "Our country has a responsibility to look after our veterans, to ensure that they have safe spaces and the resources to stay healthy in both mind and body." What do you make of that?
Well, that's absolutely true, and that's I think that's one of the major reasons when I retired from the military after 31 years service, that instead of going into, you know, the more administrative part of medicine or executive medicine, I decided to go back into practice as a family doctor, and I've opened up a practice dedicated to veterans to give them that opportunity, recognizing how difficult it is for people to find a family doctor, particularly for veterans who have ability to talk to someone who understands implicitly where they're coming from. So I think that is absolutely true.
I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and then we'll come back. Once again, the Governor-General there in the background. She just shook the hand of the Chief of the Defense Staff, Wayne Eyre. We saw the Prime Minister, and we also saw there just a few seconds ago this year's National Silver Cross Mother, Gloria Hooper. Dr. Jung, we were talking a little bit about the resources to help people transition when they come back home. And, you know, the Governor General referenced that in her statement this morning. You talked about the progress, but how much more is there left to do?
Well, I think the greater advances that we require is actually in the treatment of mental health, and that's obviously not just in the military, but overall, writ large in the community. Mental health is becoming a truly an epidemic proportion. And so we do need to make some major progress in terms of both medication and therapy so that we can provide a more lasting and a higher success rate in terms of creating remission and if not cure, but at least, you know, improvement and remission so they can actually live a reasonably stable life for the rest of their the time on Earth.
And we are coming up in just a few minutes' time to the most sacred part of this ceremony, which of course is the 2 minutes of silence. The 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, when hostilities ceased in the First World War.
Ladies and gentlemen, O Canada, with members of the Central Band of the Canadian Armed Forces and the Ottawa Children's Choir. Mesdames et Messieurs, O Canada, avec des membres de la musique centrale des Forces armées canadiennes et du Chœur des enfants d'Ottawa.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Ils ne vieilliront pas comme nous, qui leur
They
avons
won't come
survécu.
like us that
Ils ne
survived.
connaîtront jamais
They'll never
l'outrage,
know the
ni le
outrage,
poids des années.
nor the weight
Quand
of
viendra
years.
l'heure de crépuscule,
When the years of the end, we will remember of them.
Gawed, Doniki Kasiwag, Ejikin Win in Gangoyan. Ganiki Kamin, Gawin, Getsi Win, Dayaksika Sinawa. Gawin Ge, in Daso Babon, Dabanana Jiksinawa, Pigo, Nabageshbok, Menwa, Gukejebabkok. Gamakwen Manani, Gamakwen Manani.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez vous asseoir.
Parade! Stand at ease!
As we gather in this place of sacred memory, may these words I share now be for some the prayers of your heart, for others a reflection of your heartfelt thanksgiving, and for all, may this word speak to our duty to remember.
Today, we are reunited to remember, to rememorate the past, give it a life. Remember that Canada, as we know it, is not acquired. It's the fruit of labor, of the fights, of sacrifices of the past. Let's remember of those that went on the battlefield and that never came back to the country. Let's remember of those that were injured and still have the scars on their bodies, in their memories, and their soul. That this reunition brings back. That's some healing.
Let us remember those families bereaved by the loss of a loved one. Let us remember with gratitude the thousands of Canadians who decided today voluntarily to serve Canada before themselves. Let us remember that the tomb of the unknown soldier represents thousands of Canadian faces and names. May each name become an additional motivation to work for peace and to put an end to the conflicts and divisions that plague our world. May our decisions and actions be imbued with courage and the values of peace and hospitality that make true dialogue possible. May our remembrance invite us to take action so as to choose diplomacy over violence and to choose to celebrate difference rather than exclusion, lest we forget. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice-Regal Party will now begin placing their wreaths. Mesdames et Messieurs, le
Ladies and
cortège
gentlemen,
vice-royal déposera
they will have the wreaths.
Fields, the poppies blow between the crows.
Let's bring in war historian Melanie Morin-Pelletier. You know, they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. And there are so many stories written in these eyes that we're seeing today.
Absolutely. So powerful. My art really went out to Mrs. Hooper.
We both looked at each other in that moment.
I'm also mom. I can't even start to imagine the pain she went through. Silver Cross Mother is such an important position, but it's one that no one wants to fill, and we want no one to fill it. It goes back to 1919. They recognized at that time how the sacrifice of tens of thousands of moms and widows. So it says something about families and war for sure. And it says something about the war never being over for some families, sons not coming back, but also that so many are coming back with broken bodies, broken minds, and that's something else we have to remember on this day.
You really got the sense of her carrying that grief and carrying that burden. And Melanie, you're so right. One of the things that I found quite striking was that as she was laying down her wreath, we were hearing these tremendous, glorious, vaulting voices of the Ottawa Children's Choir singing Au Chant d'Honneur in Flanders Fields. And these are children that represent hope. They represent opportunity. They represent future. And she won't have that with her son.
No, that's... She takes solace, I think, in knowing that he did what he was. He contributed so much to society, to the world. This is what he wanted to do, and his legacy is with us. I think that's, as a historian at the War Museum, I take great. It's a great privilege for me to be able to continue the recognition, the remembrance every other day of the year. We have the privilege today to be gathered, all of us, to celebrate, but we can't forget. After that, we have a duty to keep their memories alive.
You mentioned that you're a mother. We are living at a time when we are seeing such traumatic and shocking images coming from all over the world, but particularly the Middle East. And I'm wondering how you're having those conversations with your own children about that.
I do have a teenage son, and we do discuss it for him, and they do discuss in school. I think they're a lot better than they were when I was his age, understanding what's going on around the world. It's difficult as a mom. Like many moms, I would give my life in a second for my son, so I can't imagine what these parents are going through. And also reminding him that you can never take peace, freedom for granted. That's an important part of the conversation, and I hope that it's something that he carries with him as he grows older.
Chief Warrant Officer Jones, as you're watching these images and the people in the crowd today, what are you thinking of?
I'm just reflecting on those, of my colleagues who have given the ultimate sacrifice. This is the time of the parade that I get very emotional, and to be honest, I had to run away for a bit there after the last post. It was very touching for me, and just the symbolism of the day and the laying of the wreath. When the parade is over, I'll go to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and I'll lay this poppy that I'm wearing, and it's actually a friend of mine who's having a difficult time, who's serving and who will be releasing soon, gave it to me to lay on his behalf because he's also about to give up service. But it is a very emotional time, but it's a time to reflect and to remember and to appreciate all those sacrifices made on our behalf.
Such a day of so many emotions, Dr. Jung, and you've guided so many people through the complex process of navigating through these emotions. There must be an element of survivor's guilt on a day like today for so many.
For some, definitely, for sure. Those who have seen their colleagues being severely injured and killed, they obviously ask themselves, why did I live and the other person not survive? And so that is a constant thread behind them that makes it difficult for them to, let that go and move on with their lives. And it's not easy. If it was easy, they wouldn't have this problem. And so it's a constant struggle. And trying to navigate the system, both the healthcare system and their own internal demons that they're trying to fight with. It's a constant struggle, and many times I'm personally have difficulty with that.
Let's listen in to the benediction.
We remember those who answered when their country called, those who fought, and those who died for something greater than themselves. From this very spot, a little over a decade ago, our departed friend and colleague, Rabbi Reuven Bulka, reminded us that when we look at our veterans, we are looking at the very best of Canada. They are our true heroes. They were ready to make the selfless, supreme sacrifice of their very lives, to stand up to terror, to tyranny, to unjust violations of human beings and their basic human rights. They stood up to unjust aggression and fought for the innocent. C'est une noble vocation.
It's a noble vocation, and we are thoughtful that they answered. Many of these men and women, courageous, continued to have the injuries of their service. Physical injuries, traumatism, and moral injuries. They deserve our honor and our support totally and with unequivocally.
At this cenotaph, and before this tomb of an unknown fallen Canadian soldier, we remember that unthinkable numbers of our fellow Canadians did pay the ultimate price of their very lives. They sacrificed their hopes and dreams, their loved ones, their whole futures. They sacrificed everything. Ils ont tout sacrifié.
They sacrificed everything.
We honor them best not simply by remembering their names or even by recalling their sacrifices, but by remembering what they died for. That their families and loved ones and grateful people throughout the world could live on in freedom in a land where human dignity would be recognized and human rights protected, where people of different backgrounds and histories would live and prosper together in mutual respect and social friendship. That you and I could live lives in peace and security, where governments would be moral, accountable, and responsible, and everyone would be equal before the law, where each person would enjoy religious liberty to live both privately and publicly according to their conscience and their deepest belief convictions about the very meaning and purpose of life. To live in a land that is glorious and free. In the haunting poem In Flanders Fields, written by the war surgeon and poet John McCrae, the war dead bequeath these things to us, the living, as a torch to be held high. Here at this place, before this hallowed tomb, we honor the fallen, and we renew our sacred trust to them. We will not forget. We will remember. And we will not break faith. We accept this torch from their failing hands and will continue to guard and cherish the values and ideals that they laid down their lives for. And for those of us of the household of faith, we entrust them to the loving kindness and the tender-hearted mercy of God. May they rest in eternal peace. Amen. God, keep our land glorious and free.
Ladies and gentlemen, God Save the King with the Ottawa Children's Choir. Mesdames et messieurs, que
Ladies
Dieu
and gentlemen,
protège le roi
may
avec le cœur
God
des enfants
protect the king
d'Ottawa.
with the choir of kids of Ottawa.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance at the National Remembrance Day ceremony. Today, as a grateful nation, we stand in collective remembrance of all who have fallen in the military service of Canada. May we never
The departure of the Vice-Regal Party, led, of course, by Her Excellency, the Governor-General, Mary Simon. Let's go right now to Jeremy Chahon, who is in the crowd. And Jeremy, I understand you've got a grandfather who's brought two of his grandchildren, and today really is about keeping that history alive, and it looks like he's doing that.
That's exactly it, Omar. Today is about remembrance, about reflection for so many, but it's a tradition as well. I'd like to introduce you to Bob Oldford, who is here from Portage La Prairie, Manitoba, here for a special reason this year. Tell us why you're here, Bob.
Well, this was an item on my bucket list. 52 years ago, I came here as a member of the military for the Remembrance Day service, and I wanted to do it again after 52 years. Could be my last chance to come and visit and be part of this ceremony, which means a lot to me.
And a special connection with your wife as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
My wife passed away last year, and we had planned to come to this one this year, so it was completing fulfillment in what she had requested.
You brought your grandsons with you, who are cadets. What does it mean to you guys to be here with your grandfather, following in his footsteps?
It means a lot to me, personally.
And how about yourself? Happy to be here with Grandpa. Has today been a special day? What's the ceremony been like for you?
Good.
Proud of your grandsons, I'm sure, Bob. What does it mean to you today? What do you remember most on this day?
Those fallen comrades, friends of mine, those that have passed, those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, and those who continue to serve and do what needs to be done in our community and our world. And thankful for all the service they do, including things like taking care of forest fires here in Canada. Service that we do.
Thank you so much for your time, Bob. Appreciate it. Bob, one of many here in the crowd today with a special story taking in this special ceremony. Omar.
And how beautiful that he is able to complete the journey for his late wife by being here today. That was very touching. Let's go to Annie Bergeron-Oliver. Annie, so many touching stories I'm sure you've been hearing all morning.
Absolutely. And you know what? The most touching part of this entire ceremony, for me anyways, is about to come up, and that's the Veterans Parade. I love being able to see all of the veterans with their medals, their regimental colors, the color parade walking. You know, in some cases, the Veteran Parade has gotten smaller as a lot of the older veterans age, but I think it's still such a touching moment to be able to see all of these men and women who served and fought for Canada here, standing together, marching down the streets of Ottawa. And my other favorite part, Omar, which is about to come up as well, is once the ceremony is officially over, the doors are open, the gates removed, and Canadians come to the cenotaph. They're able to go right to the tomb of the unknown soldier and place down their poppies. And I find that is, you know, a remarkable moment. Canadians coming together and everyone having a different reason for being there, for putting their poppy down. And it's a very silent and touching moment where people pay respect, putting their poppy down. Some say a prayer, some cry, some stand silently, some sing songs as they place the poppy down in the tomb of the unknown soldier, either just to say thank you to somebody that they've never met, but they know is serving or has served, or for a lot of people, they put that poppy down as a memory, as a tribute to somebody personal that they've lost. And so for me, that moment really summarizes the reason why everyone is here today.
So much symbolism in that poppy for sure, Annie. Thank you so much. And just to update our viewers, people who might be wondering out there, the Fly Pass this year has been canceled because of weather. And when they initially came out with that news about an hour or so ago, we had a few questions at least, because the skies were so blue and the sun was out, but obviously they were tracking the radar. And you can probably see by some of those images, or at least the wide shots that will be coming up momentarily, that there is a blanket of cloud now in the sky. So obviously they were ahead of it and made that call earlier today. So no CF-18s as part of this year's ceremony, no fly past. But there may be some in other cities, and we will bring those to you as they come in. And in fact, I'm just hearing right now in my ear that we do have Toronto. So let's take a look at that fly past right now. Such a spectacular sight wherever you are in the country. Dr. Chung, what has stood out most for you today?
Well, for me personally, this is the 70th anniversary of the end of the Korean War. And somebody who was born in South Korea and emigrated to Canada when I was 11 years old. In a nutshell, my existence here is due to the veterans of the Korean War. And that is what prompted me when I entered medical school to enter the Canadian Armed Forces. It's my way of giving back what they gave me. So for me, the Korean veterans stand out as a personal significance to obviously me and my family and all the Koreans who are living in Canada and around the world.
We've been having so many conversations in this country about who we are, what we stand for, the shift, conversations about how some of our allies don't feel that we are pulling our weight in terms of defense. This is not a day to discuss politics necessarily. This is a day to reflect on the service and the sacrifice of our troops. What is your hope, though, for the coming years when it comes not only to this day, but of the contributions and the purpose of the Canadian Armed Forces?
Well, when you look back at the Korean War, in 1950, I believe it was, what was Korea to Canada? I mean, but Canadians rose to the challenge, went there and helped the nation survive, and South Korea today is prosperous. So I hope that Canadians look at the world affairs as not as something that is what's it for me, but rather how do we play a generous role in an international scenario so we can provide that benevolent help as a positive force from a military perspective to help other people who are in a similar situation to prosper in the future. That's what I'm hoping.
That's a great point, and Chief Warrant Jones, Warrant Officer Jones, that is such an important and profound point, right? We are all interconnected as a globe. What happens in one part of the world necessarily touches another.
That's right, and it's always, I've been always, I came to Canada as a youth, and I'm so fascinated that Canada does that. We always go and help others. Like, even when Afghanistan happened, my mom always said, "You guys are peacekeepers." I said, "Mom, that's only a task." And I saw when things changed in Afghanistan, the Canadian Army remained in place until the bitter end. And I look at the parade marching by now, and I see our future when the Canadian Armed Forces on parade. Our RMC cadets are leading that parade because they're the future. The rest of the Army is behind them. That means we're supporting them. So I always say that our military is a great organization. It's a great place to serve. It has so many opportunities, and this country is a great place to live in, and people should realize that. And we can reach far and wide, and we'll always be there to help our allies.
Melanie, something that you're putting into practice every single day at the Canadian War Museum, telling people about, telling young people, student groups when they walk through. Absolutely, and hearing these stories from veterans and service men, it's always it's so important. Also, it leads me to a major research project that we have right now at the Canadian War Museum, which is called In Their Own Voices, and where my historian colleague Michael Petrie has interviewed close to 200 veterans in the past 2 years. So it's the kind of stories that, for the Second World War Korean veterans, it's the time is ticking, and we have to record their stories before they're gone, and it's so important for us. And so it's yes, we're focusing on personal stories. So it's an integral part of what we do, and then we have the privilege of having objects and art, and to illustrate these stories and to share with the rest of Canada. Meaningful work, important work, and important to preserve those voices for posterity. Let's go right now to Jeremy Charon. I understand, Jeremy, you've got another guest with you right now.
Yeah, Omar, I'm joined now by Mike and Emmett from Gatineau, who are here. Mike is a veteran himself. Important to be here today for the ceremony and bring Emmett along for his first, correct?
First here in Ottawa, yes.
And so what was today like for you? Special to be here? Talk to me about what it means to be here today.
It's important to remember everybody who served, everybody who continues to serve, and see everybody coming out. It's been an interesting few years, so to see everybody back in the city, and it's a special day, and it's great to see everyone here.
And Emmett, you're 9. This is your first time here in Ottawa at the War Memorial for the ceremony here. What's it like for you, and why did you think it was important to come along with Mom and Dad and be here?
I thought it was important to remember the people who sacrificed themselves for our country.
And I understand you maybe want to be a pilot. Do you think maybe you want to follow in Dad's footsteps and join the military?
Maybe not.
Maybe a little early to make that decision. Perhaps it would make Dad proud. Anything specific you think on a day like today? Anything specific you're remembering?
Oh gosh, that's a question. Not only people served and people who have passed away, but people who have come out and had a hard time and who are living amongst the country, just trying to feel like they are one together. It's a day that we can remember that we're all together. And I think of some of my friends who perhaps can't be here or don't want to be here for their own reasons. I think about them and just hope that they're doing well, and that's important to keep in mind.
Certainly a large crowd here today doing just that. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
So many thousands, Omar, here today really taking this in, and again, just so many stories like this as we continue to make our way through the crowd.
And Jeremy will check back in with that kid in a few years, whether he wants to be a pilot or something else. Whatever he does, that's okay. But it's great to see him and his dad taking all of this in together on this day. What did you think when you were looking at that father and son together to reflect on a day like today?
I thought it was amazing. I like when parents include their children and they make their own choice. I tried to get my son to join, but again, he said, maybe not for him. But I think it's the future, and we have to get our kids involved so they understand. And I think it's great. It's awesome.
And another powerful image, Dr. Jung, Annie Bergeron-Oliver was talking about this just a few minutes ago, to see those poppies on the tomb of the unknown soldier, and Canadians really taking their time to pause, to reflect, to pay tribute in their own way about the tremendous sacrifice.
Well, it's poppy is an iconic image, you know, I think, and it's not just in Canada, in the UK and other Commonwealth countries in particular, and it just encapsulates everything that we've been discussing today and seen today in that one simple image. It's a marvelous image.
Melanie, what does it mean to you? I mean, you know, every time this time of year, every year, we wear the poppy. It symbolizes so much for so many.
To me, it's a direct human connection. It's a connection to remembrance. It comes from, as we know, from Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae's poem in Flanders Field. So it comes directly from the war. He wrote it after one of his friends was killed in the Second Battle of Wreath. At first it was an appeal to bringing more men overseas to continue the fight. But after McCrae's death and after the war, it really became the symbol of remembrance, and it's getting even stronger and stronger, and it's taking new direction now, also with the poppy stories. So for the more techie new generation, they can have access to personal stories by scanning their poppy on their phone. So I think it's been very interesting too. It brings another layer to this symbol.
And bringing that past into the present too, with technology and digitization as well. And you're so right, in Flanders Fields, so Chandonel, it's really become the anthem of remembrance. You can see there the lead vehicle there is Her Excellencies, the Governor General, the Vice-Regal Party, now about to depart momentarily. Let's go back to Annie Bergeron-Oliver. And Annie, I understand you have a guest with you.
Hi, Omar. I'm standing here with Robert Downey. He says his family's called the Fighting Downeys. They're the third generation of people who have fought in the military. Tell me a little bit about your family history and the photos that you brought here today and the medals, and why that was so important to you, Robert.
Well, as I said, I'm a third generation myself in the military, dating back to my grandfather, George Downey, who served in the First World War in the No. 2 Construction Battalion, commonly known as the Black Battalion. My father, Bobby Downey Sr., followed him and served for 29 years, originally in the Black Watch, and then he mustered into food service. I served for a year in uniform at College Militaire Royal in the ROTP program, and then I served 18 and a half years as a civilian human resource officer.
So a very long and proud history. And you were also telling me that there's something special as well with your hat, that your fourth cousin has an extra special part in Canadian history, and now there's a ship named after him. Tell me why.
This is true. I mentioned 3 generations, but in fact our military history dates back to William Hall, who served in the U.S. Navy and then also in the British Navy. He's the third Canadian, first African Canadian, first member in the Canadian Navy, and first member from Nova Scotia to win the Victoria Cross, which is the highest award for valor in the British Empire. And they've recently named a ship, the HMCS William Hall, after him in his honor. And I'm proudly sporting one of the caps, which I recently got on a private tour of the ship.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your family as well. We're always glad to meet people like you with such a long and proud service to Canada. We'll throw it back to you, Omar.
Annie, thank you so much. And Anthony, it's so great to see people bring personal mementos and pictures of their loved ones. There's somebody in our bureau, Pam McKenzie. She brings a photo of her father every year. And that's her way of keeping his memory alive. He served, and she feels like he's with her today.
And that is so important, because I think it's just family. It is, one can say it's a family business of sort. It is a calling, and it's the way to keep their memory alive and to honor them.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Is there anything you have in your own family that...
So it's funny, I'm the only person in my family that have joined the military.
Okay.
But now that I have a spouse in the military, we jokingly compete amongst ourselves. She's one rank below me, but we joke about it all the time. But there are things that I will pass on to my children. I hope they will keep it sacred. My grandson, I'll shout out to him. Happy birthday, Sebastian. He was born on Remembrance Day in 2018 when I was actually overseas doing the Hajj celebration of the First War. So I hope those things will continue. But again, it is a calling and it's not for everyone. And I think military service, in my opinion, is a calling because it is a life of service. And someday you might come to the point where you may need the ultimate sacrifice, and that is why we're here today.
Sebastian was born on Remembrance Day.
Yes, he was.
Wow.
Yeah. He's
Happy
5
birthday.
today.
5 years old. Okay, happy birthday, Sebastian. The Prime Minister there shaking hands on Parliament Hill. Let's go now to Jeremy Sharon. Jeremy.
Omar, we're here with someone else who you were just talking about mementos, pictures, medals, people who are remembering and honoring family members. I'm here with Russ Monroe, who's holding a photo of his father and has his father's medals. You're here today in his honor.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about why you felt it was special and you felt you needed to be here today for him.
It's a way for me and all of the people that I grew up with. I'm a military brat. And it's a way to honor my dad and all the people that served in Korea. He was in Korea, he's been to Norway, he was in Cyprus, he was a peacekeeper. And it's a way to honor all the people that served for us.
He was a Korean, he's a Korean War veteran. Tell us a little bit more about him and his journey and the connection you have with him. I gather it seems you were very close with your father.
I was very close with my dad. He divorced years ago, and he raised 3 kids by himself. And he was the greatest father I've ever known. He was my hero. And that's the way it goes. You honor the people that brought you up. And with him serving in the forces, it's a way to bring back the memory for him on a day like this.
Your dad passed in 2017, my condolences, and he was often a part of these ceremonies, correct? Talk to me about that a little bit.
What they would do is they'd volunteer to come to these services, and he was a gunner, artillery, and they would fire the 21 gun salute. And Dad was here several times. He's been to other local cities, like throughout the Ottawa Valley. They would go there and they'd have 21 gun salutes at their services.
Russ, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for sharing your story in your father's honor. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so, Omar, again, we just continue, to hear these stories, these powerful moments, connections with family members, people who are proud to be here today, for the family members who can't be here today. Omar.
Jeremy, so well said, and such a beautiful way of keeping his father's legacy alive today. We've been seeing all sorts of tributes, such moving individual tributes from the public this morning, scenes that are being repeated in cities and towns across this country. In Toronto, a powerful display at Sunnybrook Veterans Centre where more than 30,000 flags have been planted across the lawns and outside the windows of veterans living there. This is all part of the centre's Operation Raise a Flag. Quite a stunning scene there, and an incredibly stunning scene here as well.
Absolutely.
As the ceremony wraps up today, it's really about making sure that the act of remembrance is not just something that happens once a year. It is really a daily act of remembrance, isn't it?
Absolutely. I have the privilege of working at the War Museum, where this is what we do all year round, and we hope that viewers will come and see our exhibitions, and we will continue obviously to there's also many we're sharing a lot of material online now. We have virtual presence, and this is the kind of stories and remembrance that we do every day.
And so important to keep up that engagement. We've just got a few seconds left. Chief Warrant Officer Jones, just some final reflections.
Final reflection, it is a day where we honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice. As we say, they gave their yesterday for our today. And now, as we culminate with this service, a lot of service members will now find a place to go sit and we'll talk and reminisce of the greatness of those individuals that fought beside us as no longer here. And I look forward to that as well. We will connect with one another, we will tell good stories, remember them, talk of their braveness and their kindness, and celebrate. And the last thing I'll say, the Canadian Armed Forces, for those young people out there, it's a great organization to be a part of. There's a lot of opportunities, and it's great to be of service to your country.
Dr. Jung,
thank you so much.
Thank you. 15 seconds left. Final thoughts.
Well, for me, myself, and basically any Korean or Korean heritage, we live every single day recognizing that our existence is made possible by the sacrifice of the Korean veterans.
So important to reflect and remember. And as Canadians you're seeing right now pay their own personal tributes at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, we conclude our coverage of this year's National Remembrance Day ceremony. It is our collective duty, not just today, but every day, to remember and reflect on the sacrifice of all of our troops. We'd like to thank Dr. Hans Jung, Chief Warrant Officer Anthony Jones, and Melanie Morin-Pelletier for sharing their insight, along with the coverage from Annie Bergeron-Oliver, Jeremy Chiron, and the entire CTV News team. And thanks to you, our viewers. Thank you for allowing me to share part of this day with you. Thank you for watching.